Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Mystics MMOs. I'm your host, Mystic Raven. Okay, so I'm not going to get a lot of time to do everything I need to do today. I have to go to a family event today. It's small, don't worry. Where we take precautions in these type of little, very, very little gatherings. And I'm talking less than 10 people, less than. And yeah, so but yeah, I got something in real life we got to attend to with family, a few in a residence, not even out in public. But I want to talk about while I'm crafting Zos's pending doom, right? Because they're fucked. They're fucked. I'm not going to lie about it. I can't even sugarcoat this. Now, for console players, it's not going to affect the console platform. And of course, I'm referring to New World. PC, game over. They'll have 60 days to enjoy the rest of their PvP community. And then afterwards, even Gray will be lucky if it gets half full. And that'll only be the diehards that stick around. It's only going to be the diehards that stick around. Battlegrounds will probably even extend the queue by an extra 5 minutes or so, because 5 to 10 minutes versus, well, it's about 3 minutes now, so we can almost see triple the queue timer. Why? Because there's not going to be more than 150 players playing Battlegrounds. It's been degrading, and I'm going to go over a number of reasons why this is. Number one, we know the number one reason. Performance. Okay? We know why. Performance has been an issue. It's haunted this game since its release. The fact that Zos has always overloaded their campaign and not adjusted those accordingly is just, they were too arrogant to go ahead and address the issue properly when it should have been. No one can make excuses. Oh, they were incapable of it. You're kidding me, right? This game makes hundreds of millions a year. You're kidding yourself. Trust me. You're delusional. So, yeah. Greed got the best end of the friggin' whatever. You will always reinvest. And now, it's gonna happen. Now, I know like the PvEers are gonna say, oh well, good riddance to the PvP community. Actually, that's gonna hurt you. It might not hurt you in the trial scenario. But dungeons? Yeah. Trade? The economy? The player economy? Gone. What PvEers typically buy a plethora of wares and stuff besides crafting writs or materials? Gear-wise, it's usually the PvPers. They're always looking for overland sets for their builds. So yeah. That's going to hurt the economy, and it's going to hurt your dungeons, because Zos has always look at the new dungeon sets. So a few of those are completely for PvP. We know that. And PvPers were tired of it. I'll be honest with you. I would rather get my PvE gear in PvE content, and I would rather get my PvP gear through PvP content, not together. Because why? I have the time to dedicate no matter how I implement it. But other players do not. They don't have all that time. They have lives. They have these things called lives. And because they have lives, they have only an X amount of time to get certain content in to get their builds together. And when it comes to PvPers, they would rather be PvPing, not running dungeons to have to get gear to be competitive. And Zos has once again It kept ignoring that, and it's going to be it's going to be the Achilles heel of this game. It just is. You might not like it, but it's the truth. I hate when that happens. It's bugged. Why can't... whatever. I'll get it on the... I'll log in and out. But, yeah, it's a problem. These are serious issues, man. Come here. Get away from the crafting center, dude. But yeah, this is a serious problem because it's going to trickle throughout the entire fucking game. All of it. All of it. And what can save this game? Well, first off, let's take a look at the major complaint with trolls and Battlegrounds. Because that's what we got going on. People want deathmatch to be segregated. They can't do that. So I've said, unless they bring out arenas, you know, it's just it's not. You have to bring. It's time. It's time. There's no if, and, or but about it. It's time. You have to introduce arenas. It's just time. You might not like it, but it's just time to do it. Okay. So ZOS would have to implement arenas. They'd have to swallow that pill and do it. They'd also would have to make incentives for PvPers for gear. Because let me tell you something. It's to this point where the player who's currently playing this game has to ask one question. Why should I keep investing time in a game who never gave a fuck about me when there's a game that's made specifically for me? Ooh. Ow. So without incentive, right? Without something to be a driving force for players to want to play it, they're not going to. Right? Name of the game. So they have to come out with arenas. They have to incentivize the stuff. They have to rework Battlegrounds gear, not the Battlegrounds. The Battleground mechanics were perfectly implemented besides the bugs that we have, like VAT, streams flying after death. Those bugs should have always been addressed. I don't know what the fuck, but whatever. But they haven't. They haven't been properly addressed. Cyrodiil, I'll be honest, you could probably get away with only keeping one 30-day campaign after New World launch. Because there's not, unless they rework Cyrodiil gear sets, and I'm talking a real overhaul. I mean, they're overhauling some, but unless they really go to town overhauling stuff, they are really fucked. They are so screwed. I'm not going to lie to you. Speaking of, we were in Cyrodiil into another campaign yesterday. It was a CP campaign, I'll tell you guys that much. And it was dead. We literally went flying everywhere with no altercation. None. We didn't bump into a fucking soul. And it kind of made me sad. And I was talking to the person I was with. I was like, you know, at one time in this game, this zone was popping. No matter what. It didn't matter that you weren't playing the 30-day campaign. You could play the week campaign, CP, and it would be popping too. And they had asked, you know, well, what happened? And I said, performance. You know, it's been the bane of this game's existence. And, you know, it saddens me that it had to come down to this. But, yeah. You know, it is what it is. You know, it just sucks. It really does suck. You know? So it's enough to break your heart. Because this game's one of its praised mechanics is the fast combat system. And when it's working, it's phenomenal. ZOS had done something, you know, revolutionary at the time. And it, like I've said this multiple times, the lore is here, right? If they would implement more lore to the game, you know, Easter eggs, how the past affects the future, you know, type, you know, and give out more Easter eggs. You're going to tie things together from the past. So when players, play other games, there's a reference point. I think that's kind of cool. They do it, but they don't do it enough, in my opinion. So the PvEers, basically, we're looking at probably a quarter of the population at a mass exodus. And that's going to trickle. It's going to be an effect. You know, and PvEers might think it's a great idea that PvP, they don't have to worry about balancing PvP. Oh, everything can be PvE focused. That's not the problem now. The problem of it is PvEers play PvE content because the way the game was designed, thus affecting you and how many players are playing the content that you typically rely on. And especially the economy. So, yeah, it's not good, man. It's not good. This is what we call a fucked scenario all the way around. Now, they're not going to make it in time to save themselves from what's going to happen. The only thing that ZOS can do by the fourth quarter, and this has to be a precedent, is introduce arenas by fourth quarter. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't. I won't be surprised. Redo PvP gear and try to say we're building a second 30-day campaign. Why? Because if they get players to come back, nobody wants to lag in Cyrodiil. You have to go ahead and be practical and say our campaigns can only support X amount of players. And at least that would address some of the performance issues. Not all of it, but enough where players would consider coming back. Because I can guarantee you that at least, let's say, a quarter of the players that are leaving have ESO Plus. That's millions of dollars. Millions gone, even from a PC platform. And and if they don't do something, there's going to be questions asked, what happened? A new game came out, but why did players leave to it? There's always a follow-up question. And rightfully so. So I honestly think at the end of the day, so some of the big execs and some of the shot callers over there at ZeniMax are going to have a rough time justifying it. Well, we were told to focus in on PvE. Who told you that? If you have PvP, you have to invest in it. Maybe not as much, but you still have to address it. Well, we have, and how? Well, we put all these new stats that affect PvE and PvP, but where's the content for the PvPers? Oh, it's right here in the new dungeon. Wait a minute. You put, once again, PvP gear, oriented gear, in a PvE content. Yeah, that's what we've been doing for years. Did you ever think to stop doing that? Did you ever consider to stop doing that? No, you didn't. And then you wonder why your PvP community's fed up? Well, we gotta sell stuff. There's ways to do that. There are ways to do that. But you don't lock PvP content behind PvE. You've done it from the rip. You don't have PvP weapons that are earned or obtained, like, Maelstrom or Dragonstar or Vatron Hollows or, Blackrock. You don't have that for PvPers. And that is where they're fed the fuck up. Okay? So, once again, I reiterate, it's the impending doom of ZOS's Achilles heel. Why? Because there's new blood coming out. All right, yo, Tavis, morning, yo, hop to doing my Ritz also nice. Dude, New World isn't going to hurt ESO. Bullshit. Need to make a new campaign map to... Yep, absolutely. 100% Tavis. Saying, I hate to say it is. During the event, Cyrodiil didn't even proc full. It's going to decimate it. Go look at Felix video. He plays... Felix's main game was ESO. He's already stated he is going to go to New World. And Felix isn't like he's a very popular content creator, right? He is. I could probably get rid of some stuff here. Well, let's see if I have any stuff to get rid of. Well, I could probably sell some stuff. But yeah, no, yeah, he had over 100,000 views just in yesterday's video, I want to say. And then on top of it, yeah, it's going to decimate it. It's not even a little decimation. It's massive. It's going, once this trickle effect takes in, trust me, I'm rarely wrong about this stuff. Very rare. That's why literally a company had asked me to go to out of state to direct my IP, right? And I've done projects for this company as a tester. They pulled me in multiple games. And they said, Mystic, we would like to go ahead and, develop your IP and have you direct it. And I was like, yeah, cool. I wanted to do it here. And then they were like, no, want you to go over here. And I'm like, that is not the whole idea behind my vision. They're like, but do you want your game to come to fruition? Because they knew where I was going, and they knew I had the experience to do a lot of, all I need to do, surround myself with the talent. You surround yourself with the talent, and I had to clear cut everything for development. Stages, engine, all of it. Cost, production, everything. I had everything laid out. And I was like, I'm gonna pass. It's not about the money for me. It's not about recognition in that essence. It wasn't about anything on that level. So, yeah, I turned it down. And that was a long time ago. And I tried to integrate it later down the road with another company. And one of the selling points is everything. I used to have a Christmas wish list for ESO every Christmas for years. And usually majority of my recommendations were always instilled into the game. Why? Because it wasn't just my recommendations. I got with other players. We had open discussions in chat, and we sat down to say what would benefit ESO, what would, as far as like expanding it. And jewelry crafting was one of them. I was like, this game could really benefit from jewelry crafting from a crafting perspective. There was a bunch of other stuff. Or Battlegrounds. I was the one that recommended Battlegrounds in a Christmas wish list. I was the one who recommended the HUD changes and the icons. I had all of these things that were on the wish lists. And I'm very, very usually typically not wrong about these things. So, because I've been doing it, that's why companies usually take my word as gold. A lot of companies, said, if he says it, that's usually, it usually is going to play out like that. And I'm telling you, it's going to play out like that. Now, I don't think it's going to hurt. It's definitely not going to hurt the console platforms. It's just not. Console players have nowhere to go currently. They have nowhere to go. They're stuck, right? Because there's no other game that offers that type of, PvP environment. There's just not. But if Amazon got cheeky and decided to map a controller, fully integrate its controller, it already has controller capability through Steam, which I use. But if they got cheeky and completely mapped the controller and then reintroduced the op system to the console platforms, well, then ZOS is fucked. They're fucked. They're hosed. And a matter of fact, it's not just ZeniMax that's going to be facing these effects. There's a lot of titles out there. It is going to hurt. because it was designed specifically. The crafting system in New World, hands down, bar none. If they optimize the crafting for end game progression, right, with the deteriorating items, right, because the items deteriorate, is an economy that refeeds itself, and it has the best crafting system I have seen in a decade. The game has always been PvE first and PvP. No, that's not true, Sam. The thing about it is, the game was you can look this up. The original director was Matt Firer. Matt Firer was the owner of Mythic, right? So this is where I get to educate you in MMOs. And I'm not saying you don't know. I'm just saying here's the facts. Matt Firer owned Mythic, right? Mythic's biggest title was Dark Age of Camelot, which was and is a carbon, was where they got Cyrodiil. If you look at the DAOC maps, it is a carbon copy of Dark Age of Camelot. I'll pull it up here, actually. But yeah, Matt Firer and Mark Jacobs were the owners of Mythic. Talented legends in the field. And their secondary title, they actually had a couple titles, that I was an alpha tester for, was Warhammer Online. That was PvP, once again, focus, end game focus, but it was too RVR heavy. Now, during my time during the alpha, I was asked, what do I think of Warhammer? And I said, it's good from this perspective, but it's too much PvP, not enough PvE content to fill it, right? So players are going to get, that's all they're going to be focused in on is the PvP. Well, and I was like, it's going to tank. It's going to tank. This game is going to tank. It's going to. Now, a lot of people don't like what I ever have to say, and that's fine. But it came tanked. It did tank. And I've been pulled, like I've said, I've been pulled in. I was SOE's golden boy there during a lot of game developments, as a tester. I was their little golden boy. And I got into it with the CEO of SOE, And that was a nice one. And then when the devs left SOE, they went into Cheyenne. They made another studio. And they were developing Stargate Worlds. And I was pulled into that project. So, yeah, crazy. I didn't go play DCUO or any other games like you played. You can still support the creator and not follow them to a new game. Yeah, I believe that. You're totally right. Yeah, about that. Had an idea on the forums. Guess my wish list for Central Elsewhere. I'm always on there posting while at work. I would use lore from... Yes! Yeah, dude, I'd love to see that. I played a lot of MMO since 99. You have a website, Mystic? I don't. I wanted to build one, but I never got around to it. Oh, I started the outline, but... Yep, heard New World Crafting. New World Crafting is hands down the best I've ever seen in a decade. I've been doing this a long time, but I have not seen the crafting as relevant. Now, let me hold on. I'm going to see if I can pull this up. Got a lot of maps. Anyways, so Dark Age of Camelot also had a 3-faction system. It really, at the time did revolutionize siege warfare. It was probably still hands down one of the best. Here's one of the old pictures. Oh, that one's not really all that great. Let me do the keeps. All right, here we go. Let me pull this up so you guys can see it. Yeah. No, it was definitely PvP focused. That was the whole point. The end game was supposed to be PvP for ESO. Why? Because, you know. But anyways, look at, here's the keep in DAOC. Look familiar? Does it look familiar? Look a little familiar? These look familiar? I'm telling you, man. I know my shit. I've been doing this. Like I said, I used to do this with companies, man. Play games and then give my feedback. I test, bug hunt, all this stuff. I've been doing this since the get-go. Look at this. What's that look like? What does that battering ram look like? Where did they get these designs? Why do they have a similarity to them? I mean, yeah, it's medieval and people could say that, but literally, no. The exact same setup. The bridges. Bridges, man. I hate when that happens. There's one, they had a choke point just like down past whatever, looky. Old Dark Age, man. I'm telling you, man. One of the best siege engines in the history of MMOs. Right here. Look familiar? Does it look familiar? How they have the staircase inside, all of that. This is why once again, you've got to know your gaming history, man. Why do people keep saying this game will die? It won't. I'm not saying it's going to die. I'm saying there's going to be an exodus of PvPers. Looks like a battering ram, yeah. Not thinking it will die, but I'm sure it will affect. Yeah, it's going to affect the population. And it's going to affect the way the content's presented. That's what I'm saying. But it's the impending doom. No game actually ever dies. Like I said, I have the numbers. I usually run numbers for, I used to run the numbers for companies too. It's like when I did a prospectus, I had titles that you would typically not even associate with MMOs, and then comparison to the MMO market. The frequency of units sold to population, microtransactions, all of these other factors. And a game that's an MMO that has 50,000 active players that company can gain more revenue with 50,000 versus a single title that sells 1 million. And that's the truth. That's what's crazy. Why? Because of reoccurring subs and microtransactions. That's why a lot of games wanted to develop microtransactions in a single title, single player title, or other titles. They wanted to try to create microtransactions. Why? Because it fuels a lot of revenue. It generates a shitload of revenue, a ton of revenue. And your game doesn't actually ever die until you can no longer justify hosting the server. So the only time a game actually dies is when you can't justify the cost of development and server maintenance. When that happens is when a company decides to close its doors. That's the only time a game truly dies in the market, when an MMO is shut down. Usually another company will make an acquisition to try to milk what they can out of the already created content, refabricate it, and try to milk it. So that's what usually happens, in this market. But what I'm trying to say, because of the direction that ZOS has done for a number of years and the arrogance behind it, it's going to affect them. It's not because of the combat. The combat, in my opinion, I've said this, is superior to New World. The combat system is superior. But as far as build configurations, it isn't. Compared to the crafting, it isn't. Compared to the immersiveness of the PvP system, the ESO falls short. And that's the problem. Therein lies its core problem besides performance. Why? Because they finally made a game that has PvP, but PvE ended up what? Dominating, because it is an Elder Scrolls title, dominating its PvP counterpart. And because of that, and because of how many resources were pushed towards PvE and obscured from PvP, now you're going to suffer the consequences for your indiscretion. That's the problem. So at the end of the day, this is a serious, it's going to be a serious blow. It's going to be a serious blow. It's going to be serious. And Matt's trying, Mark. There's Matt, Mark Jacobs, Brad McQuaid, John, fucking John, I swear, Mark Jacobs, Legends. Oh, me and John know each other. John knows me. I swear to God. Anyways, don't get me started on that topic. But yeah, little old tester, man. That's all I ever was, supposedly. But like I said, I started off just as a gamer, and then I ended up, working with a lot of these top end companies. I worked for, the only one I haven't really worked with was Blizzard and shit. So, but a lot of other companies, I got my head involved. At the time, at one time, even NC Soft, man, I was doing some stuff with NC, playing their games, would do a couple little things here and there with NC. So, but yeah, seriously, man, it's all good. It's all gravy, man. I'm just going to tell you guys, this is a trickle effect. It's the impending doom. Because when the Exodus happens, when it does, and it will, when the Exodus occurs, ZOS has only a fraction of a moment to regain players' confidence. But why? Because now you have a title that's a competitor. You have a title that's now a competitor. In the past, there were no titles that could compete. That's the truth. Let's be honest. There were no titles that could compete with the combat system of Elder Scrolls. That was the thing. There was no large-scale PvP. There was no, there's small scale, but when you have a ton of different options to play content, there was not a lot of games out there that was, lending itself to a PvP type player. And you don't want a game without PvE, and that's New World's problem, is the lack of PvE, because had it just went one directional, it would only be a niche. It would still would dominate the PvP landscape, but it would only attract an X amount of players. But currently, what this game really does is attract the players who want to be crafters. Attract the players, and there are players who want to just do that. They don't want to PvP. They don't even want to do PvE. They want to be gatherers, crafters. This game has those type of players. Like me, look at me, I'm doing writs. Why? Because I make money doing writs and selling resources. So, but this game was never meant to be a crafter's game. It's just not a crafter's game. Why? Because how many players want to... It doesn't separate anybody else from doing any type of crafting. It just doesn't. Everybody can do it. I have literally 12 tunes that craft. Right? So it's like everybody can craft. There's no master crafting in this game. Now you take a game that actually takes dedication, time, resources, gathering, and all that stuff. Now you have a crafter's dream come true. Why? Because they can, make money in the market, and that's what they enjoy to do. So New World appeals to those type of players. It appeals to them, right? Because crafted wares are going to be a necessity. High-end quality is going to be a necessity. Gathering resources is going to be a necessity. Sure, everybody can do it, but how many people are going to want to sink hundreds of hours just doing that? That becomes the question. Sure, people might dabble into crafting, but are people going to actually level up crafting to that extent? I doubt it. Why? Because they're going to want a PvP. So the only thing they're going to want to do is, I want my gear. Give me my gear. I'm going out and I'm cracking heads. And that's what ESO players want. ESO players want that. They don't want to spend their time, right, chasing down items to be competitive. And if they spend time in PvP, why are they PvPing? Because there's no incentive to currently PvP. The AAP doesn't have any true value because most of your gear sets are garbage in comparison to the PvE sets. There's no specialized weapons, so you're spending a lot of time in arenas trying to get a piece just to backbar it, to be more competitive. Am I lying? No, I'm not. I'm not lying at all. And that, once again, is the Achilles heel of the game. And when a game comes out, and I've said this, if a game was to come out and be focused correctly, done correctly, well, yeah, you got a problem. And for the PC platform, it is a problem. It's a serious problem. Because here becomes the thing. How are you going to justify, let's say they only lose 75,000 PvPers. 50,000 PvPers. That's still millions of dollars annually. Gone. Millions of dollars. Gone. Why? Because of ESO Plus, Crown, all this stuff. It's gone. And once again, in any business, what's the number one rule? Retention, retention, retention. What's up, Jay? Awesome. Yeah. I mean, am I lying? Can anybody say if I'm lying or if they've never thought about it from that perspective? This is like I said, this is why companies pulled me in. It wasn't just because I was a gamer. My background was business. So my background's business. So I'm like, look, I'm just going to tell you from a gaming perspective, this is where you stand out. And from a business perspective, well, you're fucked. You're fucked. You're fucked, you're fucked, you're fucked. And yeah, will PvEers leave the game? No, not really. Will it affect them? Yes. It will. It will. It will. So I always tell people, don't wish the PvEers ill harm. Don't wish the PvPers ill harm. You got to work at what everybody contributes to the population in one form or the other. And when you have a class-based system, you're never going to have a true balance in any game. The idea is to marginalize it as best as possible. But, we've come down to the fact, that's why I don't like class-based games in comparison to Sandbox. Sandbox, there's no one can bitch about balance issues. People can complain this is overpowered and that's overpowered, but there's ways to rectify that with build specking. If you build spec right, there's more dominance in certain configurations because the players knew what they were doing, but there's always weak spots in Sandbox games. You just got to know where it's at and exploit it properly. But yeah, man, this game is great. I've always said this game could probably be the greatest game of all time. I've said that multiple times. Why? Because it is to be praised. I'm an Elder Scrolls fan. I love lore in Elder Scrolls. I thought Morrowind, they did the best job with Easter eggs. With the Nerevarine, with the Daedric deities. the Tribunal. There were a lot of Easter eggs that went under the radar of most players that I quite enjoyed. I wish they would have done more of that in Skyrim. I haven't got to play the campaign, but I definitely was kind of looking around for like little Easter egg click things, something that kind of gave a lot more notice, and that's something I wanted to see. Not at all lying. I play PvP in IC only pretty much since 2016. Done Maelstrom Arena 100 plus times for the Greatsword, and now quit the game today as I just CBA anymore. Yeah, see, and Jay, perfect example. How many times you just said I played Maelstrom 100 plus times just for a weapon. Now here becomes my question: if you could earn a weapon in PvP, would you be PvPing more for a specialized weapon to earn it? Not a drop rate, earned. I mean, think about it. If you could go down into sewers, and let's say there were specialized weapons like arena weapons in the sewer system that was like for 1 million Telvar, right? Something astronomical, right? Something completely astronomical, but it affected your build, and it was, wouldn't you PvP more? Wouldn't you? Yeah, of course you would. You'd have more pillars down there trying to earn those weapons. Why? Because it's PvP oriented. It's PvP specific. And that's what I'm trying to convey. That's what I'm trying to say. You can put new items in PvP. Like if you introduce arenas, you could have battle passes associated with the new DLCs that affected the arenas. You could do that. You know, you could totally pull that off. And it would actually make the deathmatch players happy because it would be one thing that would contribute to what their bitch is about. We want deathmatch. We want deathmatch. Arenas really isn't a Battlegrounds really isn't a deathmatch. It had it, but it's too big. It's too many hiding spots, too many losses, too many whatever. Get something on more of an arena base, smaller landscape, some environmental traps, conditions, whatever. And let people fucking flog it out. But you got to incentivize it. Once again, you have to incentivize it. And I just think at the end of the day, ZOS has missed so many missed opportunities. And now you have somebody knocking at the door saying, guess what? You fucked up. You didn't care. You didn't care about your PvPers. So we're taking them. You didn't care about them. You never gave a fuck about your PvPers. So we're taking them. We'll take that money. They deserve a game where they can earn and play PvP without having to worry about doing PvE content. Facts. Yep. It's bullshit, to be honest. Hands down would be a better game. Agree. Initially TV for app, arena, weapon. Right. I also agree. This game has GOAT potential. Yeah, definitely. Greatest of all, lore and visuals are awesome. Totally agree. Performance, not the worst issue. Grind is the worst, and class style system. Yeah. See, and that's what I'm saying. Like, I've always been an advocate for ESO. I don't like their gimmicks. That's why I left the first time. When I left ESO, it wasn't because of the game or whatever. It was the direction and the gimmicks that were being imposed. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, you're just panicking." No, I'm not. I'm not panicking. I'm calling it. 2 years of Werewolf was the most dominant PvP force, with very little to no having to worry about. I'm not saying to gut the Werewolf. I'm just saying you gimmicked it. You put it behind a gimmick. And then all this content came out based on what? Werewolves and shit. Facts or not, I knew which direction it was going. I knew where it was leading. I was like, no, I'm out. I'm out. You guys are so gimmicky. And these mythics, the same fucking bullshit. You nerf crit in PvE and PvP, but you nerf crit in PvE to sell content. To sell a gimmick. That's what you did. That's what they did. Content will sell itself if it's good enough. Yes, you need incentive. I agree. But if the content's good enough, players will play it. Yes, there needs to be gear that players will want to chase after. I agree with that. I totally do. But you don't gimmick it to the point where they absolutely have to have it. Why? Because it causes resentment. And if you antagonize your consumer, they're just going to walk away. Eventually, you cannot keep saying, well, if you want to be relevant, you're going to have to get this new chapter. Well, if you're going to be competitive, you have to get this DLC. Come on. Bye. And it's like, no, man, you know what? Fuck it. You know, I like the product, but you know what? Now you've gotten ridiculous. You know, it's gotten out of hand. Nah, I'm good. I'll look for something else, but thanks anyways. You know, nailed it. Yep. And that's what I'm saying. At the end of the day, I'm not saying the game's going to die. I'm saying we're going to have a trickle effect. It is the imposing doom. It is the doom out there. It is, you know, the tax collector knocking at the door. It is the Reaper coming in, you know, because it's time. It's time. Why? Because you never gave a fuck. You never gave a fuck. You can, and once again, I reintegrate. Look what they're doing. Look at the new fucking sets coming out of these new dungeons. You can't keep doing that. All you're doing is antagonizing your consumer. That's not that they don't want to pay. It's just how you're delivering the content for that player. Because they don't want to spend 50, 60 hours in a dungeon, right? Trying to get a PvP set. Right? They don't want to have to keep playing this shit. They would rather be PvPing. They've got lives. And if they want to enjoy their content through PvP, why not let them enjoy their content through PvP? And their time, you know, the thing that we all take for granted. So, yeah. At the end of the day, I think this game could be, once again, and I'm still saying it, best game ever. Ever. Now, of course, it's not linear. Of course, it's not a World of Warcraft or a Final Fantasy. Of course, it's not these things. But what makes the game an Elder Scrolls game is the lore. And like Tab said, we want the lore. We want the tie-ins. That alone will pull players to you. You don't have to be linear. You just have to provide substance. Give people goodies that tie into the other titles. And players will just be like, oh! You don't have to have this very intricate story that ties everything together. But give them bits and pieces where it references other games that they've already had. And then all of a sudden, you have Elder Scroll fans, not just ESO fans, playing the game. And that's where I feel like they could definitely go. Rather be PvPing or crafting in my house. I like games that offer variations in crafting. Like you said, no weapons. I create is better than anyone. Yeah, exactly. Right. Master crafting in PvP games is very sought after. That's been a long lost art since probably the days of Ultima Online, Vanguard. Vanguard had PvE and PvP, but PvE, they had a very unique crafting system. So you could obtain your raid gear, but to get it to be the most optimal, you needed to upgrade your gear. And not everybody could upgrade it. So literally you could bound, your item was still bound, but you could hand it your bound item to a crafter, a master crafter, to try to enhance its capabilities. The problem of it is you provide the mats, right? Because you need specific mats for this process, but you could still break. Now, nobody else could use it. It was bound. It said bound too. But crafters, yeah, in Vanguard, master crafters meant something. Because it meant something to be a master crafter. Not everybody had the capability, to be, a woodworking special master, or, a master blacksmith, or a master armor smith. Those were very specific. And yeah, it meant something. It really meant something to be a master crafter. So, crafters also should have blueprints for arena weapons, etc. It would be kind of interesting if this game incorporated a master crafting system. I don't know if it would ever work. I kind of like where you're going with it, Jay. I kind of like the idea. I just don't know if it would be, feasible or whatever, because they have the transmutation station to see like a master crafting system implemented in this game. I'm not saying it can't be done. I'm just saying I don't know how they would implement it, because I don't know. That would be a really hard. It'd be cool. It would be cool. I just don't know how they do it. Master crafters in every other game. It's like you can't master everything in master crafting games. It's impossible. Almost. Like in currently in New World, I think everybody can level up crafting up to its max. So, but it's just time consuming. So, but in other games that had master crafting, you can only be a one master type crafter. So it basically made the economy and the market much more, specific, like, oh my God, I need a master blacksmith. Why? Because I want this upgrade. You had to have it. You're like, but yet the hardest thing was trying to find one who wasn't in the middle of working. So, and then of course paying their fees. And saying, okay, hey, I'm looking when they'll say, okay, well, I need this, I need that, and I'll charge this much, and that really does make the crafting system in those games very diverse. So, but New World's crafting system, hands down, as far as how the crafting system works, is the best I've seen in a decade. So I got to give it up to Amazon for that level of dedication. I don't think New World's going to be the end all be all game either. PvE, it sucks nuts. Its story sucks. It's repetitive content to just a level. It's a little rough around the edges, but something less to be desired. 1 app per TV, 2 to get a crafter, 3 to do the arena, 4 EG. I like the idea. I love the idea where you're going with it. I like it. I really do. I just like it. Once again, I just don't know if, to see a master craft system in this game, I don't know, man. I don't know. The way the foundations have been built around here, it would be rough. A lot of dedication to put in a lot of different elements into that type of system. I'm not saying it's impossible, especially the idea you have. I'm saying as far as development, what it would take for development to make that happen, could they, would it be, within their reason to try to implement the system. So, that's questionable. I'm so close. But yeah, I definitely, I'm feeling it. They can introduce the viable PvP craft materials to see when slotted in a crafted weapon, such as has a chance to happen. Make it okay. Yeah. so much they can do. Oh yeah, yeah, I totally agree. I to be honest with you, it would be great to see it. But could everybody do it? I mean, basically, it's like this. Could every one of your characters currently, like I'm doing Ritz on multiple tunes, as you guys can see. To implement that type of system, we'd have to have tradable items. And that means, how do you trade bound items? Or does everybody just have the capability of upgrading like they do with their legendaries? I think the selling point for any Mastercraft system is making items tradable so they can be upgraded, right? And limit how many professions you can master. So basically, let's say you have 18 tunes. Each tune can master a craft and then implement the system that you're talking about. And that could be sufficient. But it would also lend credibility to people who do master crafts. So case in point, let's say you have a master blacksmith tab, and I'm a player, I do very little crafting, but I need an upgrade, right, to a piece of armor. I, render your services, I pay, your fees, and you see if you can upgrade my piece of gear. But, then let's say I need a bow upgraded. That character couldn't upgrade that piece, but you have a character that can. You have a master woodworker. So now you switch your tune, and now I can render your services again for an upgrade. You see what I'm saying? That would be cool. The glowy hammer, right? Also agree with Tab. Yeah, I agree with you guys, but I would just like to see master, not like, jack of all trades, master of none, because then it doesn't really help the market or the economy. I think master crafting, if it done implemented correctly, it helps feed the player community and make specializations for players who invest that time into a master craft. But I love the idea, like getting these recipes to upgrade crafted gear, PvE gear, even in trial scenarios. That would be awesome to be able to get a recipe in trials for upgrading gear associated with the trial. Like a master blacksmith, master architect, schematic. And then you can upgrade a master architect, heavy, or master architect cloth, or war machine schematic. If you could get those and be able to upgrade trial sets, holy shit kebab. You could do that. Replayability in that content would be a plethora. It would be nuts. Yeah, I like all these ideas you guys are discussing. Oh yeah, we like to have open discussions here. That's what we do. Like, that's what I love doing. Like, back when I used to come out with the Christmas wish list, there would get like a couple of players, and we would all, before I bring out the wish list, we'd discuss what the game needed and what could improve the game. That's what we did. That's kind of where we always went with it, Because but like I said, to implement that system, it would take a lot. I'm not even going to lie to you guys, man. I'm not going to lie to you. This is like a chapter type content we're talking about, not a DLC content. A system like that would have to be implemented like Jesus. It'd take at least a year, at least 10 months to implement a system like that across the vast, how big the game is. Could they do it? Yes, absolutely. Yes, they could. They very well could. They could literally implement that type of system. I'm not saying they can't. I'm saying it would take a lot of devs to implement all of that. Why? Because it's not just a crafting component. You'd also have to affect all the armor types in the game for upgradable content. Then on top of it, you would have to implement schematic drops. You would have to implement, any type of, it would take quite a number of people. You could probably get away with a 5-man team to do it, but yeah, to implement it, it would take months. So, but I would say about a 5-man team, probably about 9 months, I would say, to implement a system like that. Doom, yo, what's up, little? Off the topic, I need Argonian. Haven't made one. Oh man, I have literally every race. I think I have over 40 tunes across every platform. I have over 40 tunes. So yeah, I quite have the plethora of options wherever I go. So except EU, I don't have EU tunes. So, but yeah, I think there's a lot of things that this game, once again, can always improve on. I always think that. But I think from a PvP perspective, from a PC PvP perspective, the clock's ticking. And the clock is a ticking. And it's cool. If ZOS wants to lose millions of dollars, that's on them. That's on them. I've always said, it's up to you. Do you want to retain your consumer or do you want to let them go? It's up to you. It is literally up to you. If you're trying to retain your business, you better do business. That's about it. Once again, if I'm going to a store and let's say I'm picking up, I don't even flipping know, soda, the pop, whatever you want to call it, depending where you're located. I'm going to be familiar with an associated brand, right? Okay. And the thing about it is what are we paying for? We're paying for quality, right? We're paying for not just familiarity, but quality. But let's say I see, that off-brand version, right? It's a little cheaper, but I'm not familiar with it. So once again, I'm hesitant, right? Right? But let's say there's a review on it, right? And it's a lot cheaper. Am I willing to try an off-brand? Now, that becomes the first question. Because we associate ourselves with familiarity as a society. Then our preference, taste becomes the secondary factor. Then the cost. It's not about what we're paying. It's about, are we getting our money's worth out of what we're buying? Are we settling for less quality versus the money, or are we getting superior, supply and demand? It goes back to the whole idea of supply and demand. Once a brand becomes popularized, it becomes a little bit more expensive. But if another brand becomes superior in flavor and it's cheaper, well, guess what we do? We switch. Because it's now justified. It's now justified. Because now this appeases to my palate. So I'm no longer a Pepsi or a Coke person. I'm now a, fizzy cola drinker. Because why? It's cheaper and it appeals to my taste. I made an Argonian DK named Red Dragon and did my best to make him look like one. Haha, came out pretty good. Nice. Sad as ESO has best combat. I agree with that. PvP wise, I do like the true human nature. And when more of my friends switch, guess what? The popular brand changed. Right. Exactly. And that's the same thing we have in the MMO market. That doesn't change. It doesn't change. When one of your friends leave a game, you're hesitant. They try to lure you in. Why? Because the advertisement's within your community. It's in the community. It's advertisement. A lot of games don't have to spend billion or millions on marketing if they can pull a few, because the marketing is now within what? The current consumer. So all of a sudden when your friends leave and they say, hey, we're done, sorry, man, we're going over here, you should come with us. The first thing you're going to be like, no, man, I ain't feeling that. I ain't going there. No. And then all of a sudden, though, you're left by yourself, it gets a little lonely playing, then you start thinking to yourself, well, I either got to make new friends or I go check out what the hype is. You see where I'm going? Like, at the end of the day, you're going to go where everybody else is. Why? Because you're playing an online game. And if you're a PvPer and all your PvP buddies are playing this game, what's the likelihood you're going to make the switch? Let's be honest. Let's get practical. And there's a lot of psychology associated with marketing. My brother is an executive in the healthcare field, but his primary focus is what? Marketing and competitive market is whatever. So yeah, my brother is very, very well known in his field, and I'm really happy for him what he does. But the thing about it is we talk shop all the time. I'm no longer in the business field, but we always talk shop. So why? Because it's pertinent. It's relevant, So the thing about it is, once again, I reintegrate that, ZeniMax's Achilles heel is they've kept this gimmick up for too long. Too long. And now you got somebody coming in, and is it going to kill your game? No. But you're going to lose millions of dollars. Oh, that's happening. Why? Because you didn't tend to the needs of your consumers. You didn't tend to it. And once again, once there's a competitor that's getting praise by others, well, what else follows? What's next to follow? I've said this. ZOS, what they need to do. It's time. You might not like it. Introduce arenas. Redo PvP sets. Introduce specific PvP content. And release DLCs associated with some, not all, but some PvP to keep business flourishing. Because it's not the cost that why PvPers won't pay. PvPers will pay if it's associated with PvP. If you keep throwing them into a PvE content, you're going to antagonize them. And early adopters, as MMO players, know, get the advantage, right? We can always come back. Yep. That's the beautiful thing about the market, isn't it? Isn't that the most beautiful thing about this market? Because we already own the game. So if we decide to browse something else, it's at our advantage and their disadvantage. It's like car shopping. You can go to different lots, right? And you're wanting one specific model. The question of it is, who has the best deal? You can browse a little more. You can look for that specific color, that specific interior. All those little details that you're looking for might not be with this dealer. But over here, you found one. The price wasn't exactly what you was looking for. So you go somewhere else until you find what you're willing to pay for and settle for. It is what it is, man. It is what it is. And like I said, I think combat-wise, this game is superior in many ways. The question of it is, when's it working? Yo, shit. And do I oh no. Ah, shit. Now, I know there's guards out here. Maybe. Well, I'm going to have to turn myself in at Deshaun anyways. Whatever. Or, yeah, we'll have the gate. Whatever. I like this game. I love this game. I fell in love with it in a lot of ways. Why? It's an Elder Scrolls title. First off, you're never going to get another Elder Scrolls game that has as much accessibility to the mass of the landscape. There's never going to be another Elder Scrolls title that does what this does. Okay? There's just not. There's a lot of familiarity when it comes to this and other Elder Scrolls titles. Sure, there's some differences, but there are other indifferences, and once again, time periods and lore that keep you playing this specific game. So, you know, I'm always going to say that I'm always hopeful that this game will eventually be what we all want it to be. We can always, but the question of it is, will it? With that being said, I'm going to let you guys go. Guys, thank you for coming in. Saying, by the way, go check him out. He's always got some of the best tank builds for early players. Let me tell you something. If you're new to tanking, new to ESO, go check out Saiyan, because he always puts solid builds together to get people through content and get you plateaued to the next level. Everybody else, I want to thank you guys for coming in, joining in on the conversation, because let me tell you guys something. It's because we have these conversations that we can hope and want the best for this game. It's not with animosity that we have these topics. It's with concern and where we want to see Elder Scrolls moving forward. Okay, with that being said, thank you guys. As always, I'm Mr. Craven. This is Mystics MMOs. Have a good one, y'all.